You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
We're back with our guest, Robert Gruber. He is the publisher of the Wilmington Star News, and we're talking about inside the workings of our hometown newspaper. Can you take us through the process of a typical day at the newspaper? I know people want to know the news side more than people go out try to sell an ad.
On the news side, most of your reporters are going to show up really about mid-morning. That's really when a day cycle starts. Obviously, you have your standard beat reporters, but
like
where we're
city reporter, county,
exactly
crime, right.
etc. Mid-afternoon, about 3-4 o'clock, there's a what's called a news budget meeting, and
that's not budget money. That's budget
content.
Where content? How much are you going to devote to this? Where is it going to go?
Exactly, exactly. From there, all the stories start to flow in.
And this is for what's going to happen for the publishing of the paper the next day.
Correct. Now, that being said, obviously, reporting doesn't happen instantaneously.
Right.
A lot of these stories are developed over time. Fact-checking has to happen. Sources have to be developed. Because really, you have the day-to-day reporting, but really investigative journalism is really what I think we've made great strides in and really have separated ourselves from a lot of publications.
Well, actually, that was my next question. There seems to be a big push more recently, and maybe that's a misperception on my part, to do more investigative reporting at the paper. Is that true?
Yeah, it's really going back to the roots of, and that was a conscious decision that we felt like, and part of it, quite frankly, was feedback from the community as well, and that we should become a little bit more aggressive in the standards of our reporting, and really tackle on issues that are happening in this community, dive into them a little bit deeper, and it's really what it's fundamentally about is trying to make a difference in your community, trying to help this community become better and grow. But they did result in some great stories.
Well, a couple that come to mind, ABC story.
Correct. Star
News broke that, had impact on the entire state-run system.
Yes, it did.
Another one, Brunswick County Commissioners, the per diem allowance, that story brought it to the public's attention.
New Hanover Field House is another one.
Exactly. How do you feel when you watch a thing like that play out, that the paper, like the ABC story, and the impact it's had throughout the state? How do you feel? How do you feel as the publisher?
Pride. Absolutely pride. And the feedback that we get from the community is overwhelmingly positive, appreciative of the efforts, because there's a tremendous amount of hours dedicated to really developing a story like that and breaking it. It's easy, I shouldn't say it's easy, but it's certainly easier to do the day in, day out beat reporting. But when you really get into the investigative end, that's really making a significant difference in your community.
And the Star News has actually gone on the record in court at times to make sure that information that's supposed to be public remains public. That's a pretty, you go out on a pretty steep limb when you do that.
Yeah, but again, you're going back to the roots of journalism, and one of the things that, as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot that's changed. But one of the things that haven't changed is one of our responsibilities as journalists to make sure that public information remains public and the public stays informed. That's not how government was ever intended to run, from going back to the roots of democracy. It was supposed to be for the people of the people.
Not too long ago, a lot of people, as I mentioned, were predicting the demise of the daily printed newspaper, mostly due to the impact of getting news online with and a lot of gadgets. Phones, you can get it, iPods, iPads, and these are being rolled out just about daily, new kinds of ways to get information. How difficult has it been to change and develop in a new direction?
Well, really, it's exciting. It's obviously a challenge. We still, on an average day, sell 45,000 newspapers, and on Sunday, 49,000. So that really doesn't, and if you really look at an average newspaper, you have about 2.3 people that read an average newspaper just on carryover readership. But
what do you mean? 2.3 people read each
edition on average. So it's a difference between basically sales of a single paper and readership of a paper. But the fact remains that, for instance, this past month, we just broke 6 million page views in a single month on our website. And we had...
in 1 month?
In 1 month. And 500,000 visitors hit our website in 1 month. So certainly the digital age is here, but at the same time, we have many, many loyal core readers. And then really of the baby boomers, because what we're really discussing here is a generational situation. There's people, I have an iPad, and I'll read our publication on the iPad, but then I have it delivered to my home, and I'll read it there as well, or at the office. So there's readership. You have to go across many platforms today. That's really the reality of the media business.
How difficult was that to do without, how much did you have to increase just your staff in order to deliver news on several different fronts? Was that a big challenge?
Well, it is a big challenge, but it's really, it's really not an increase of staffing as much as an increase of knowledge of the staff. And I think that's been one of the challenges, is that we have all had to change and learn.
Is everybody working harder?
Yeah, I would say everybody's working harder. I think everybody in the country is working harder today.
That's true. Actually, you just won our Star News here won a national award from the New York Times. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us.